My wife, who is 37 and has a new job, has been unfaithful to me. About 5 months ago, she also made some new friends. I'm 36 and I didn't really like them. They were all hardcore feminists, professional victims, and SJWs. They're women who will yell at you for opening the door for them or not opening the door for them. You can't win either way. In the beginning, I initially laughed it off, but over the past 2 months, I've noticed some concerning changes in my wife. We've been married for 11 years and have 2 kids, aged 10 and 8. It gradually got worse. She would accuse me of all kinds of nonsense, like claiming that I was born evil because men historically suppressed women. No matter what I did for her or what she would normally appreciate, it would suddenly become a reason to have a fight. It was all nonsense. I would try to be patient, but these arguments would usually end with me saying something like, "But I haven't done anything bad towards you. The only thing I'm guilty of is loving you." This would usually send her murmuring. Then the next day she would be back, trying the same thing again with slightly different arguments. Then, about 5 weeks ago, I got this sharp gut feeling that something was seriously wrong. She came back late at night without telling me. She'd be back late. I couldn't reach her phone. She was rather drunk, and she acted distant and cold. The next day, she'd just be dismissive and tell me I was being controlling and that I read too much into things. This happened a few more times. I tried to snoop on her phone but didn't manage to find anything definitive, but I suspected she'd deleted a lot of her messages. I did find a thread with one of her new friends. They were discussing how she'd approach me, asking me for an open relationship. I immediately knew what my instincts were telling me. She was cheating. My wife said she'd talk to me about it on what is now the second Monday of December. My kids are with their grandparents to celebrate Christmas, and we were scheduled to both join them today. Anyway, she tries to start this conversation during breakfast like it's just a thought that came to her out of nowhere. She asks me what I think about an open relationship. Luckily, I was prepared. I was already recording. I had been reading a lot here on Reddit, and I knew there is really no way of saving this. My best possible outcome is to get out of this with some pride and self-respect. From here on out, I'm going to protect my self-esteem and the kids. I didn't scream or yell. I just went directly into interrogation mode. She was cocky up until this point, but that evaporated immediately when she saw the look on my face. She asked, "Who is he? What do you mean?" She tried to look innocent like she didn't understand me. If you want to have this conversation with me, don't treat me like an idiot. At least you can be honest. Let's be honest. What's the point of this conversation? What do you mean, me? If you lie to me now, we cannot have the discussion you want to have about our relationship. I can tell that you're hiding something. It's obvious, so who is the guy? It's more than one. Aha, me. Don't just lie. You have just totally destroyed my trust in you. I can tell you are lying. Either you are honest and we talk this through or I divorce. If you want to end our marriage, I understand. There's no need for arguments or discussions. Just let me know. I've been through this before. I know what she's going to say. Do you understand that if you lie, I will divorce you? I already know a lot. I can read you like a book. If I catch you lying, we are over. Tell me you understand. She proceeded to tell me about 2 one-night stands while out with her. I asked them about their names, if they are married, if she wore protection, etc. They are both married men with kids. Then she told me she is planning to sleep with a coworker and that she intends to pursue this since it's good for her and that I don't have any right to control her. I asked about the coworker as well and got his name, his wife's name, and that he is married. According to her, in an open relationship like she wants us to be, she will set me up with some of her friends. One of them is really keen, apparently. What in the actual F***ck is going on? I've seen this friend and I wouldn't touch her with a barge pole. I tell her I am not interested. I ask for her phone and she shows me the pattern to open it while she went to the bathroom. I locked myself in my office. She freaks out and while she was back banging on the door, I ran recovery software on the phone for deleted content and ended up with a lot of it. I also installed a spying app from an online service 30 minutes later. When I came out, I gave her the phone and told her to leave. She argued a lot, but I didn't really respond. I just gave her a few single-word responses. She didn't seem remorseful at all. Throughout this, she was yelling at me. She said that I was acting controlling and holding her back. She said that I never loved her and that she had every right to do this. She also said that she expected me to I told her to accept it and that it wasn't a big deal. I didn't argue back. I hardly said a word. I just packed her stuff while she circled and yelled at me. I ended up at the front door, where I just stood silently until she ran out of steam. In the end, she reluctantly went to her parents' house on her way down the stairs. I told her she was single now so she could do whatever she wanted. I wasn't controlling her anymore. My lawyer would be in touch in January. I turned to respond, but I just slammed and locked the door. I later watched as she discussed it with her friends. They were telling her how strong she was, demanding what she was entitled to, and how she deserved better than me. They said that it was empty threats from my side that I wouldn't go through with it. What really worried me was how they told her that, if needed, she could just accuse me of domestic abuse. One of them explained how she had screwed over her ex, my husband, and taken everything from him by accusing him of abuse. I've ordered cameras to put up at my house now. I know I have to record everything. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. I've never threatened her in any way. Then she started messaging her AP to meet up. They agreed to meet at a hotel. I was absolutely shocked. I was pretty shocked, so I went online to find the AP's wife. I didn't have to look far. I got her to accept me as a friend on Facebook and told her everything, including what was going on at the hotel. She thanked me and hung up a few hours later. I got a video from her. She went to the motel and confronted them. There was a lot of screaming. This wasn't the first time. Her husband had cheated. You son of a bitch. You do this to me again with the kids. I told you we were over. If you ever did this again, you'd be in trouble. She walked into the room and filmed my wife getting dressed on the edge of the bed. I threw up when I saw that the first time. The app's wife slapped her and I cursed her out. I sent my wife a message saying that I saw the video from the hotel and that I never want her near me again. It's like she sees our interaction as some sort of pissing competition where she thinks she's winning. She's totally delusional. I can't understand any of it. It's like she isn't connected to reality. It seems like she doesn't really understand that we're divorcing. I logged on to my wife's family WhatsApp group and informed them that we're divorcing due to her infidelity. I thanked them for making me feel welcome and part of the family before disconnecting from the group. I've received a few calls and messages from her side, but I haven't responded. I haven't read them or responded. I just don't have the energy for it. I called my parents and told them everything. My father messaged my wife that she wouldn't be welcome for Christmas. I am at my parents' now and I have talked to my boss. He is giving me time off until mid-January to sort things out. I've been monitoring my wife's increasingly frantic discussions with her new friends. I've been in frantic discussions with her new friends. It seems that my wife hasn't yet realized that she has lost her family, that her marriage is over, and that her new friends and her AP don't really care about her. She has sent me many messages, and she showed up at my parents' house demanding to be allowed to celebrate Christmas with us. She said she'd call the police if I didn't let her leave. I'm looking up divorce lawyers online and crying. I think I've been in shock, but I've been hurting since I got to my parents' house. I just can't make sense of it. Reading her messages and interacting with her gives me so much pain. I only responded twice to her messages. It doesn't matter what you say. I don't know who you are. You are not my wife. My wife would never destroy my heart and soul while smiling. We will get a divorce. I don't care what you say or what you want. You have no right to demand anything from me ever again. We are over. As I said, you're not my wife. I don't know you. My wife would never condemn our children to the pain and suffering of growing up in a broken home. You seem proud of what you've done. My wife was loving, caring, and considerate. You're a self. I'm obsessed with myself. I'm really struggling at the moment. The messages stopped after the last one, and it's been pretty rough. I really wish this hadn't happened. I wish I could go back to how things were with her, but I just can't do that to myself. This Christmas has been really tough. I couldn't help but tell the kids that mommy doesn't want to be a family anymore. She wants they think I'm going to get back together with her and that we'll get divorced. They're naturally upset. Fortunately, my parents are here to help. They're giving the kids lots of love and attention while I'm a mess. I'll try to get back on my feet for my kids' sake. But I'm not going back to her. I wish I'd waited until after Christmas so I could get them into counseling. I don't know what happened. I just blurted it out when they asked about when their mother would come. I would never be able to. If I went back to her, I'd have to accept her disrespect and callousness. I'm lost. I don't understand why she thinks she can demand anything from me. Is she mentally ill? I'm sorry for the incoherent rant. I just needed to get this out. I found out that I'm okay with the monitoring. I talked to a lawyer. The phone is mine, and the subscription is mine. My wife is using it, but I own it and the subscription, so I'm okay with monitoring it. It's not illegal. One cheating wife ruined a family and Christmas. Why does she expect me to be okay with her behavior? A lot has happened since I last posted. I wish I could take credit for it. But the truth is I've been a pathetic, sobbing mess since I last posted. I was sort of obsessed about my wife's chats with her friends. A lot of insane and hurtful things were said. The final straw for me was when my soon-to-be ex-wife described her marriage and children as a burden that prevented her from being a successful woman. She said that I was an oppressive figure who held her back from living a good life. She also blamed her family for her lack of success in her career and her penchant for casual sex. I was devastated. I spent the next 30 minutes reading and rereading every line of emails and chat messages. I spent about 6 hours reading and rereading every line of emails and chats I had over and over again. When I reflected on it, she didn't provide any details on how we actually were burdens or oppressors. It was just blanket statements with no examples or supporting arguments. In fact, I have never stopped her from doing anything. I pay for almost everything, including the minimum wage she collects from her part-time job. I've supported her hobbies, dreams, and aspirations, even when she got poor grades. I made sure to show her I love her every day and appreciate everything she did for the family. I would romance her, take her out, and be there for her whenever she needed me. I'd like to see some oppression. Anyway, I digress. At some point, I just passed out when I got up. My 3 best friends were in the kitchen with my dad making dinner. I've known these guys since I was a child. Let's call them Mike, Bob, and Frank. My dad had invited them and brought them up to speed. I soon broke down again and was completely out of it until Friday evening. Mike is his ex, he's in the military, and he lost his left arm below the elbow. We were there for him when he was in recovery, and his wife left him. Fortunately, they didn't have any children. Mike has adopted 2 kids and has a very nice girlfriend from a few years ago, so he did okay. He set up a Zoom call with his counselor, who helped him when he went through recovery. He helped me a lot to understand what was happening with me emotionally. Even though he specializes in amputees, he told me how most wives, unfortunately, they often leave when their husbands are injured. His stories and examples helped me a lot. He asked me to consider my soul, identity, and spiritual self. He said that a large part of it is tied to my marriage and role as a husband. That part is gone now, and I'll feel phantom pain from the dead part of my identity. We spent hours talking, and I've been steadily improving. Bob is an executive at Summit Security Company. He talks a lot about his job, but I don't actually know what he does. He's doing well for himself, though. Bob called a law firm that's on retainer for the company, and on Sunday morning I was talking to a lawyer that I could never afford to even talk to. Bob has always been a huge nerd and was bullied a lot. He told me not to worry about the bill. He would cover it. He was happy to finally be able to repay me for the beatings I frequently took for him interfering with his. Frank is a teacher at a private school for kids. He's married with 7 children. Yes, 7. My kids love him and his family. Frank has been looking out for my kids while I get back on my feet. Yesterday was a busy day. It started with STD screening. The bye gave me chlamydia. Another screen in 6 months. And %e-currency hash myself. I was feeling pretty down when I found out that it was over for me. I decided to switch to pure F in anger. I'm not going to give her anything if I can help it. The lawyer managed to track down the ex. I found out that my wife's feminist friend had screwed over her husband. It was pretty easy to find out from the court documents. I didn't think about it at the time. I spoke to the husband on WhatsApp. He thanked me a lot, but he also told me about everything his wife had done to him. Now I know what to expect from my soon-to-be ex-wife. It was sickening. I was ready for a fight after our chat. I'm preparing for war. It was heartbreaking hearing how he had been homeless and how he hardly had seen his kids in 4 years. All based on his ex. I accept that I'm at a disadvantage as a man in the court system. I'll make sure I have tons of evidence. My lawyer suggested a preemptive strike via a retraining order due to her negative and aggressive comments about males in general, especially for our son's sake. I grew up in a household with an openly anti-male parental figure. It's clear that having a male parental figure is very damaging, so I'm going for full custody. I told the lawyer to go ahead. She's expecting to be served the restraining order today. I had a call with my SJWs on Zoom. Keep in mind that she hasn't reached out to me at all since she showed up at the door to argue with my dad. She hasn't reached out to the kids or anyone else either, so it's not like she cares about any of us. The call was absolutely bizarre. She was all made up with a massive cleavage. She was clearly trying to look her best. I haven't seen her like that in years. Throughout the conversation, she tried to bait me into a fight to get me angry. I managed to stay calm. My lawyer had told me what to ask for. Apparently, it's very positive if attempts are made for an amicable divorce prior to filing for a contested divorce. I even told her I was still SJW. She didn't disappoint. She started out with this absurd statement about how there are two types of one is roughly the same size whether it's erect or not, and the other shrinks and grows based on whether it's erect or not. What in the actual world opens a call with their husband like that? She then mused about how she was looking forward to the end of the current restrictions so she could go out and investigate this more in person. I simply responded that I wasn't interested in her hobbies, and that I was only interested in discussing our divorce. She got openly hostile. When I didn't get angry like she wanted at one point, she told me she was going to the bathroom and muted herself. Then I watched as she talked to her friends about what she could do with me. She cursed me out several times throughout the call for nothing more than being a man. I still had the strange feeling that she was seeing this as some form of game that she was in control of and that I had no other option than to put up with it and give in to anything she wants. We didn't make any progress on our actual divorce, so I decided to go with a contested divorce. By the way, you gave me Kaya. Unlike you, I haven't been sleeping with anyone else, so you better get yourself to the clinic. She just frowned at me like you're right. I don't believe you. I seriously have no idea what is going on with her. At this point, I no longer care. I sent the recording to the lawyer and she was shocked. Everyone thinks my wife is insane. Maybe she is, since I own her phone and the subscription I can actually use the chat logs as well in court. It turns out it's fully legal to monitor my own device as much as I want. After our call, there was a lot of discussion between the Heartbeat team, but I could finally put it aside. I no longer care what they talk about. The lawyer is confident we will win this thing, unless there is something I haven't told them about, so there we are. Still hurts, but I can treat it as phantom pain at this point. I had an abandoned feeling, and I was feeling sorry for myself. I'm going for the jugular. I have no prisoners. I need to protect myself and my kids. I'm doing well. My kids will be fine. I will make sure they get as much therapy as they want. My SJWs will soon be a distant memory, and I will start building a new, better life. Edit. I found out today that she knew about the Kaya and got treatment but didn't tell me. She was joking and laughing with her new friends about it. Christmas, why does she expect me to be okay with her behavior? I get a lot of feedback like I'm strong or winning in some way or somehow getting out on top. Rereading my posts, I can see that my anger towards the situation filters through, and I could seem to be fine and sure of myself. The truth is, I'm not. I wish this never happened. I wish my family was still intact and that I had a long, lazy, comfortable life ahead of me with my wife and kids. It's time for them to grow up and start their own lives. There's no winner here. My wife has gone off the rails, and the entire train is burning in the ditch. I don't know what is wrong with her. She refuses to see a medical professional for possible mental issues, and she is acting like nothing is wrong. She shows no remorse or regret. She acts like I am unreasonable for not just accepting whatever she wants. She is hard-headed. She has even talked to the kids since I'm taking action and moving forward with separating our lives because I have to. Her behavior has left me no choice. There's no way back now. I wish this wasn't necessary. I can never trust her again. I cry myself to sleep every night for my own loss and the fact that my children will now grow up in a broken home. It's also a shame that my kids will now grow up in a broken home. I also worry that they'll have a hard time understanding why their mom and dad are splitting up. How can you explain to your child that their mom doesn't want to see them anymore? How can you reassure them that they're still loved? If anyone knows, please let me know because I sure as hell don't. Every day I wake up and tell myself that my heart is already smashed into so many broken pieces that it can't possibly break anymore. But I'm wrong. My wife still doesn't know that I can monitor her communications. Or maybe she doesn't care. She's convinced I'll never leave her and that I'm wrong about her behavior. She talks badly about me, our marriage, and our children to her friends. I don't understand why she hates us so much. We haven't done any of the things she says we have. As I said before, my lawyer got a temporary restraining order against her. There was a hearing yesterday morning, and since there were no new direct threats, it wasn't extended. My lawyer suggested using the fact that she knowingly infected me as a threat to try to get her to agree to an undisputed divorce. Ideally, we could separate in a reasonable process. It's frustrating to have to view her as the enemy and assume the worst if she wanted to leave. I could live with that, but why force me into this adversarial process? What's her motivation? It seems like she's trying to hurt the people who used to love her as much as possible in the process. What possible gains can she have from this? I'd appreciate any insight on this. It just doesn't make sense to me. If I go to court, I'll probably have to pay her a lump sum for the equity in our house, etc. I'm not liable for alimony, and she doesn't seem interested in the kids. So I'm hopeful I'll win custody if it goes to court. My lawyer suggested we try to get her to agree to an amicable divorce, and I agreed. We'll meet with my ex and her representative hopefully this week. My husband was defrauded by the lying harpy on New Year's Eve with me and the kids. It's just incredible how the justice system treats fathers unfairly. I don't expect to receive a fair process if we go to court. His ex lied her head off, and the court just took it as fact with no proof whatsoever. He has hardly seen his children since he has been forced to pay unreasonable amounts of alimony and child support. He's been through a lot and it's pretty much broken him. He's been contemplating taking things permanently with the new evidence he gets from me. We both talked to my lawyer, who suggests he sits on the evidence until the meeting with my wife and her counsel. If he takes action now, it will show our hand and prove we have access to all their communications. My lawyer's goal is to divorce me and my wife as soon as possible. Ideally, I'd like to get away from her as smoothly as possible. If she decides to fight, it could drag on for a long time, which is stressful for me. I just need to get free. I'll post an update if I get a meeting or if we go directly to a disputed process in court. Update 3. My wife is cheating, which has ruined our family and Christmas. Why does she expect me to be okay with her behavior? Sadly, the bizarre situation continues. I had a meeting with my lawyer and my SJW yesterday afternoon. She showed up 30 minutes late and didn't bring a lawyer. She says she doesn't need one. Instead, she brought one of her new friends. I was not to react to anything they said in a negative way. If they addressed me, I was to respond in a non-confrontational manner. I was instructed by my lawyer to be confrontational if I could, but to remain silent if they put one hand on the table. They also tried to insult me and wind me up, as did my SJW. My lawyer is trying to get the discussion going on the subject at hand, but they are just joking around. They're trying to get the discussion going on the subject of our divorce, but they're just joking around. They laughed at their own insults towards me a lot. It was pretty cringeworthy to watch. It's clear now that my wife still believes this is all a ruse. She thinks there's no way I can divorce her, and that only she can divorce me. It all depends on whether she wants to. If she does, she'll get everything. I sat there thinking, what's going on? I didn't actually say anything of substance. I only responded a few times, and it was along the lines of, yes, you're probably right, or, I really don't know. Finally, they ran out of steam. My landlord got she brought up the proposed settlement for an amicable divorce. She said I was willing to be generous for a quick, peaceful resolution. She said I would pay her a large lump sum of $60K for the equity in the house and investments. My lawyer didn't even finish this sentence. Before my wife got all excited, she wanted to know where to sign. My lawyer asked several times if she didn't want to go over the rest of the agreement first, but she didn't want to sign right away. She started talking about when she could expect to receive the money and that they needed to get to the pub. My lawyer called someone over and whispered to them. There was a flurry of activity. An older woman asked for our identity documents and we were asked to sign copies. When we were done, the old lady stamped it. I later found out that she was a notary. My lawyer then told them that she was a notary. He thanked my SJW and the Harpy and told them we were done. They left, and my wife didn't even bring her copy of the agreement with her. She left it on the table. My lawyer looked at her and at me with her hands on her hips. It was clear she wasn't happy. My lawyer asked if I wanted to say anything while they were in the building, when we could see them crossing the parking lot. She looked at me and said, "Congrats," then went on and on about how this was the strangest session she'd ever had for a negotiated divorce. She said she'd send my SJW's copy to her after we do a hearing in front of the judge, or if she gets a lawyer that asks for it. Until then it's forgotten in my lawyer's drawer. So it looks like on the surface I will get through this divorce a lot easier than I first thought. My lawyer told me she would try to get the judge to order the SJW to pay my legal fees. She's calling in all the favors she can think of to get me a hearing with a judge as soon as possible. It'll probably be a video call. I've also hired a PI after getting advice here on Reddit. He got photos of my wife making out with 2 different guys at 2 different bars yesterday. She went to a hotel with one of them, so I have lots of evidence if I need it. I have lots of evidence that she was with one of them at a hotel. I just hope it's enough if it comes to that. My wife signed to give me full custody. She only had to pay $60K, and I am free now. I just got to find the money. I got a plan, and Bob offered to front me the I'm willing to pay the full amount if necessary. I still don't believe this is real. I expect her to bring in an aggressive lawyer, and I'm accusing you of molesting the kids and domestic abuse. My lawyer advised me to keep a low profile, pay for everything I normally pay for, and not rock the boat in any way. The advice I've been given is to stay silent and wait until the hearing. I'm just supposed to sit tight and not respond to anything until then. I'm being asked to be patient and hope for the best. I'm not sure I can do that. My wife has been unfaithful and has ruined our family Christmas. I don't understand why she thinks I should be okay with her behavior. Yesterday was the hearing. I'm basically divorced. It'll take 4 to 6 months for the paperwork to be official, but at this point, there's basically nothing anyone can do to change the outcome. The only option is if my wife and I stop it together. I'm so tired. I haven't slept in a while. I've been going through a lot lately, so I apologize if I seem a bit all over the place. I just need to get this all out. Hopefully, I can get some sleep after I type it out. My lawyer got me an early hearing just 12 days after submitting the paperwork. No doubt she called in some favors on this one. I'm getting off track from the weekend, and today have been pretty crazy. Friday morning, a bunch of police officers showed up at my door with a warrant to search the house. I was pretty confused and worried about the kids, so I asked if I could bring them outside while they did their search. Thankfully, they agreed. They didn't really tell me much, but I did get a copy of the warrant. I was pretty shaken up, so I couldn't really make sense of it. I guess everyone that said my wife's behavior was probably drug-related. There's a good chance that there's a factor in this. The cops said that I had completely trashed my house. I called my lawyer and she talked to them. However, the warrant was valid, so there wasn't anything that could be done at the time. I didn't think about it when it happened, but I have cameras everywhere now in case I get wrongfully accused. I have video and sound of everything. I could possibly make a claim later if I want to. To be honest, I don't really know if I have the energy, or I guess I'll just put a line over it and move on. I didn't know it then, but X and her 3 friends drove my car while high and drunk and crashed into a house at high speed. They were all arrested for being drunk and for having drugs in and on their bodies. They were pretty roughed up by the crash. The one in the passenger seat is in critical condition. They don't know if she will even make it. The lead Harpy let her call her Henrietta. She is the one that bragged about screwing over and lying about her ex. The husband was in court. Let's call her ex. My husband Henry and I have become really good friends. Thankfully, they didn't find anything from the search. I gave my statement that my ex doesn't live here anymore. She lives with her parents. I don't know what she is doing. I didn't give Henrietta permission to drive my car, etc. When I got back in the house, I just broke down. Everything was completely trashed. It was just the last straw. I guess the only thing I could think of was to call my dad. He brought me and the kids home to stay with my mom. Then, a whole group of friends and relatives got together, 26 of them, and while I was sobbing on the back porch eating my mom's amazing comfort food, feeling sorry for myself, they completely cleaned and fixed my entire house. They did every single room, including the clothes, dishes, furniture, and even washing the ceiling and walls. It's never been this clean. They even fixed all the little things like loose door handles. I just couldn't believe they would do such a thing for me. I have no idea how I can ever repay them. I went from suicidal to feeling pretty good over it. The weekend, the cops found more drugs at Henrietta's house, and her boyfriend wasn't there. There wasn't a babysitter either, just the kids alone. The kids were taken by CPS and Henry was granted temporary emergency custody on Saturday. He showed the judge the chat logs combined with the abandonment and piles of drugs, and he got custody without much difficulty. Henry is over the moon happy he has hardly seen his kids. The last 5 years he had been raising money to fight Henrietta in court. When this happened he still needs to go to court to he'll probably get permanent custody, but the odds are really good at this point. It seems like everybody thinks Henrietta will have to serve time if her friend doesn't make it. He'll try for child support and compensation for all the crap Henrietta did, but he isn't expecting much on this. To be honest, I think he doesn't want to waste his time fighting in court. He wants to be with his kids and make sure they have a good life. It's pretty clear that Henrietta has been very neglectful towards them. Bob has been a champ, though. I've set Henry up in a rental apartment through a friend. I've come to realize that I know practically nothing about Bob's private or professional life. I intend to remedy that. I'm off track again. Henrietta was driving when she drove off the road and into a house. They were all pretty banged up. Due to the situation, the alcohol and drug search warrants were issued for everyone's residence. X is still registered with my house as their residence. I decided on Sunday that I am selling this house and moving away ASAP. I'm afraid this will probably happen again on Sunday.